welcome to this webinar with Cloudbreak Discovery PLC. Cloudbreak is a UK listed project generator listed on the main board of the London Stock Exchange under the ticker CDL. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get going. There may be forward-looking statements made during the course of this webinar. I would please refer you to the presentation on Cloudbreak's website, which on page 3 has a disclaimer outlining the indemnities and various legal aspects of forward-looking statements. And the other thing I'd like to say is this webinar is being put on for informational purposes only and shouldn't be construed as an offer or a solicitation to purchase securities in Cloudbreak or any other company that may be mentioned on the call. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Kyler Hardy, who is the CEO of Cloudbreak, and he's currently in London. And thank you very much for joining us this morning, Kyler. Perhaps as an introduction, you could just run through a little bit of the history around Cloudbreak, how it came about, and how it came to be listed in London, because I know you're a Canadian native based on the West Coast in British Columbia. So why did you choose London as a listing jurisdiction for Cloudbreak?
Definitely, Andrew. Thanks for hosting this. So we chose London as the jurisdiction to list Cloudbreak for a couple of reasons. The project generator model is it's a very known model, and there's quite a few project generators in Canada. We needed to, I guess, poke our head above the parapet a bit, if you will. And there's really only one other listed project generator in the UK. So we took that opportunity to be the second one. In addition, we are looking to diversify part of our project portfolio out of North America and over into West Africa, and specifically that was a major reason we came here. We find that North American investors don't understand the African story and the potential of it as well, and European, UK investors have a much better handle on it. So those are the big reasons why we came to London, and we're not listed in Canada at the present time. So with that said, I'm going to hop into our presentation here, and I'm happy to take questions at the end. So as Andrew noted, it's Cloudbreak Discovery PLC, listed on the London Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol CDL, and we're a project and royalty generator for the natural resource sectors. There we go, and the disclaimer Andrew noted. So Cloudbreak is a dynamic project and royalty generator for the natural resource sectors. And what a project generator does is it uses its intellectual capital, it's consolidating information and looking for new exploration projects for the mining sectors, the energy sectors, these industries that we're involved in. And we've been at this now for over 10 years as a team. Previous to Cloudbreak, we did it through various entities. We brought those entities together as Cloudbreak, and we've completed through the history of the company over 80 project transactions over the last 11 years now under the project generator model. So a lot of experience behind it, and ultimately we took this model out of a large geological consulting firm that I helped found a number of years ago. What we do is we go into a jurisdiction, and a jurisdiction could be British Columbia, it could be Quebec, it could be Côte d'Ivoire, it could be Ghana, it could be the United States as a whole, and we look to diversify commodity and jurisdictional risks. So we'll get into it here over the next little bit, but you'll see we do have quite a wide spread on on where our projects are located, but also a wide spread on the commodities that we're exploring for and have partners exploring for. from there, from using that information to develop an idea to bring a third party in, we will bring in a development partner now, or an exploration partner, to advance it. The reason why somebody would come in and purchase a project or option a project from us rather than going and doing it themselves, there's a lot of early stage effort that goes into narrowing down where we want to explore, where we want to where we think that there's good opportunity for discovery success. And a lot of groups, a lot of good technical groups aren't focused on finding something that, needle in a haystack, if you will. And so what we do is we provide them a ready-made package of a project, a database, and an exploration thesis. And in exchange for that, we get, for an option, joint venture, or say sale of the project, we get cash and milestone payments along the way, get to retain an equity position, which usually over a 3 or 4 year period, various equity payments to us. And we retain a royalty for the discovery upside and the production optionality on this in the long term. Additionally, we negotiate and acquire royalties to generate future cash flows in the business. And that's a core portion of using part of that project generation income and reinvesting it back into passive or royalty income, if you will. And then in order to advance these projects, we seek good partners that are not only have a balance sheet and the ability to raise capital, but also good technical teams that understand the exploration thesis we have and that can expand on it and move it forward. So with Cloudbreak, what you have is a diversified commodity portfolio. We've got over 5 million of exploration expenditures by our partners in 2022. So as you can see, that means we don't have to put that capital out to go and explore. We get the benefit by having the equity in those explorers. And as a result, 15 of our 17 projects are now being advanced by third parties, with the last couple of projects that we'll talk about them, but that's the Northern Treasure East and West. And as I noted, we get cash and milestone payments, equity, and royalties in each of these projects that we've sold and brought a third party in to advance. So the project generator model, it's a tried and true and tested model. It's again, it's back to this: why would somebody buy a project from a project generator? It's got to do with all of the upfront work that goes into finding a new project. And there's been a lack of new projects coming into the market over the last 10, 15 years for to supply, which is the metals sector, or the auto sector, or the battery sectors. And with the movement over from, say, a more hydrocarbon-based economy over into more of a renewables-based economy, we're going to need a lot more of those metals. And it's specifically copper, lithium, nickel, these types of things. And people want a ready-made asset to go and find something, to go and explore, rather than again searching through that needle in the haystack. So there's really 4 steps to this whole project generator process. 1, we do a jurisdictional review, decide where we want to be looking, where we're going to focus our time and effort. We come up with a commodity thesis throughout that region after we've examined the first bit of data. We start to mine the data and acquire additional data from prospectors, from government agencies, from geological surveys. The proverbial banker's box in the geologist's basement is a great source of information that isn't necessarily publicly available. We try and use those relationships that we have to go and find data that maybe's been buried for the last 20, 30 years. So no one's paid attention to it. From there, we do a desktop study, and we start to come up with a project thesis throughout a region, let's say, throughout a jurisdiction. From there, we move to the assembly phase. And with the assembly phase, what this is actually going and acquiring the mineral rights or the right to explore within a jurisdiction. So we'll stake and acquire projects. Sometimes we do buy projects from third parties. We like to bring partners in on the assembly phase as well. I think one of those, a good example within Cloudbreak is the partnership or the strategic alliance we have with Alianza Minerals out of Canada. We wanted to get into the Western United States exploring for copper. They had a lot of experience in that region. We had we were very comfortable with their technical team. And so we partnered with them on a 50-50 basis to acquire projects within that jurisdiction, their ideas and our ideas. So what we've been able to do here is, so what we do in the assembly phase is we stake and acquire a project, we consolidate projects. So you get the main part of a project, then you start to add the periphery onto it until you own a project of the size or the scope and scale that is required to cover off your exploration theory. And from there, we go into the exploration phase. This is the exciting part. And so as a project generator, we really look to pass the drilling risk on to the third party. So we'll do the first phase of exploration, which is some geophysics, some geochem, mapping, prospecting, looking for mineralization, proving out our thesis, if you will. And if we do prove out that thesis, we move on to phase 2, reconsolidate that data, and do a follow-up to expand on the known mineralization. If we don't prove the thesis of what we thought we would find, we look and say, is there a secondary? If yes, great, we move on to phase 2. If not, then we shelve it and we wait for later. And I think one of the key pieces of all of this is every idea that we have, every idea that we've generated, we don't necessarily go out and stake it right away. A really close friend of mine and a mentor, I once asked him, how do you build a success? How are you successful as a prospector? And he looked at me and he said, Kyler, this is as long as you have no claim payments due for the year, and you've moved your projects on, that's a successful prospect generator or prospector. And so we've taken that into account. When we start to acquire projects into the portfolio, we want to know that we're going to be able to move them on in a reasonably timely fashion so that we're not spending vital cash on just maintaining a claim. So we do have a lot of other ideas in the works, things behind the scenes that we aren't necessarily talking about. The project generation is a very long lead time endeavor, if you will. So with that said, we go from the exploration to the partnering phase. In the partnering phase, this is where we monetize a project. This is how we get rewarded for our early stage efforts and bringing a partner in, or spinning the asset out into a new entity, or creating a strategic alliance. So the first tranche of this, very simple. We do this on a daily basis: option agreements, joint venture agreements, and or sale of the asset outright, cash and milestone payments, equity positions within these entities, and retained royalties. And I'm just going to stop there just for 1 second. And really, choosing a partner is a really it's like getting married. You need to find the right person, the right group of people that you think is going to have the wherewithal to take a project on and move it forward, and not have it come back to you too quickly, or at all, ideally. And from there, it's going into our network of experienced explorers, experienced technical teams, experienced corporate financiers, and presenting. It's a labor-intensive endeavor. We'll do 20-30 presentations to various teams over a period of time in order to find the right partner. And we do get offers along the way, but it has to be a two-way street. So we want to make sure that whoever's coming in is going to be as dedicated to this project as we want to see it moving forward. So sometimes we do take on private partners, and those private partners eventually do go public. We make that as a condition of the agreements we do with them. Unless they have a larger balance sheet, sometimes we bring a private equity partner into an entity, but those are different deal structures, and we'll get into those a little bit later on here. So I hope that clears that up for a few people. I know we've had questions in the past around that, and it's a bit of an art, not really a science, if you will. And then the second version of how we monetize an asset, let's say we have 3, 4, 5 assets within a jurisdiction. They all look like they work really well together. There's a commodity focus across them. What we'll do is we'll put them into a subsidiary with a keen focus. We'll build a new board of directors in there. We'll build a new management team in there, and we'll spin it out into a new entity and do a return of capital or a distribution back to our shareholders. Part of that equity goes to our shareholders, part of it remains within Cloudbreak, but we also retain a royalty within Cloudbreak. So it's a bit of a dividend return of capital type scenario, and we want to be able to do a couple of these over the coming year here. We're just getting ahead of steam behind us right now on consolidating some of those larger projects, those more diverse projects. And finally, again, this comes back to the strategic alliance, how we can work with other groups. And again, Allianz is a great example of this. Project level interest in joint venture. So anything we stake with Allianz, we've got a joint venture with them. We move those projects that we develop within that joint venture onto third parties. The Klondike asset and the State Line are 2 very good examples of that, where they had a bunch of information, good technical team. We had a captive audience with Allied Copper who optioned the 2 projects from us, and went in, and we ended up with a pretty good cash and milestone payment scheme, a nice retained royalty, but also data rights to the whole area as well. Any exploration data that they develop, we get to view as well. Even though we do have an area of interest, it helps consolidate our understanding of the Paradox Basin where these 2 assets are. So the team here, I think this is a pretty key portion to the whole endeavor. We've deliberately kept the team quite small, and we like to use outside third-party contractors to beef up capabilities within an area that we're working. Myself, Kyler Hardy, over 16 years of experience in the global resource sectors, mining, energy, forestry, primarily from an operations side. And 8 or 9 years ago, sorry, I can't remember. It's been so much fun. I moved over to the capital markets side, and have taken that on, building companies, building several project generators, a couple of small energy royalty businesses. We kept private for quite a while. We're moving into the public space more now over the last few years. Dave Robinson, our chief financial officer. Sorry, I should actually mention, I say I come from the operational side. This is logistics, moving equipment and materials around, diamond drilling, these types of things. I was diamond driller and oil rigger for a number of years. Dave Robinson, CFO, ex-audit manager over at MNP in Vancouver. He was part of the TELUS Pension Trust as a senior analyst, and he joined us a few years back. Him and I structure the deals and execute deals together. Rory Kutululu, him and I have been working on and off together for 13, 14 years now, and him for me, me for him, us in partnership. He's a economic geologist, but in addition to that, he's also a pragmatic geologist. He'll say no more often than he says yes to ideas, and I think that gives us a higher caliber of exploration targets. So we're not just taking anything that comes in. We're not just taking any target that we generate. It's the ones that we really sink our teeth into are ones that have some ability to become something. And additionally, he's got an extensive background in geophysics as well, so rounds our team out a bit. Cam Barsh, him and I and Rory, again, work with people, we brought him on as we'd known him and worked with him for on and off for 10 years, structural geologist, and we really brought him on to take big concepts and really narrow those big concepts down, big regional data sets. The board of directors, it's myself, Emma Priestley, who's a long-term operator within the UK market. Just had a nice catch up with her, and her gold mine in Ghana is now producing gold, so we're very happy for her on that. Additionally, she's got a lot of experience in West Africa, where we're trying to grow our presence right now. And that's a big reason why she came on, why we've been very active with her over the last couple of years here. Andrew Mail, fellow Canadian, transplanted to the UK 15 years ago. He's focused on the corporate finance, capital raising, and corporate governance side of stuff, making sure that we stay between the lines, making sure that we're doing things right, but additionally introducing new sources of capital into the business. So project locations, we've got, as you can see, a very diverse set of projects across North America, being a tier 1 jurisdiction, and Kudu Resources, a wholly owned subsidiary, is project generating in West Africa currently. Where British Columbia is where a lot of our projects are. The Northwest portfolio was staked within that region mid last year, and there's been a number of major successes across British Columbia. Porphyry deposits are the norm there, very large ones, things like Galore Creek. Imperial Metals has the Red Chris mine, I guess it's Newcrest now, actually, that owns most of it. And British Columbia's got a history of finding projects, developing projects, and putting them into production. It's the center of Canada's junior resource market, if you will, financing early stage ideas, extensive geological and engineering expertise. So the Northwest portfolio, though, specifically was staked in that area of northern British Columbia, where nobody's really explored for the last 15 to 20 years. The glaciers have receded, opened up a lot of new ground, and untouched mineralization opportunities. A lot of these projects that have discoveries in that area of the world were the direct result of someone coming back to look at a project that hadn't been looked at in quite a while, and they got onto an old where a glacier was, and found excellent mineralization there. Norseman Silver, we'll talk on the Caribou project in a minute here, but we put a portfolio of 4 projects together for them. They executed a drill program on the Silver Vista project this year, and are vectoring in on some interesting mineralization. New Moon was not explored this year. Silver Switchback, they did an extensive geochem program on it, which has resulted in several drill targets. There'll be some geophysics happening in the coming year, we're anticipating. And Caribou, they've outlined 2 brand new zones and expanded on one existing zone that we had when we owned the project. They over 30% of the samples taken were over 1% copper, which we found to be very interesting. And the geophysics executed will, we think, show the several drill targets. And Temas Resources, this is a bit of a funny one. It is in our portfolio. We're a major shareholder in it, approximately 16%, I believe, just under. And we sold them the LeBlanche asset, sizable historic resource, titanium dioxide, iron ore, and vanadium in Ontario. In addition, they bought a suite of metallurgical technologies to work on the LeBlanc asset and are executing a PEA on it right now. It was delayed over the last 12 months due to permitting issues, but that we understand that's been solved now. And we have exposure to their borates asset that they're currently executing a PEA on through an earn-in agreement in Serbia. So it's a bit of a dog's breakfast of a company, but we really like the commodity suite in there, and the Bob Schaefer and Michael Dane as the senior management are actively moving that company forward. So just briefly, I think we were really excited about the results of the Klondike project in the Paradox Basin, Colorado, that we staked in conjunction with Alianza Minerals and has now been optioned to Allied Copper Corp, both listed on the TSXV. So we executed a surface exploration programs, and we got some great results, up to 6.3% copper and 127 grams per ton silver in outcrop. The claim block is fairly small, but there's a room to expand it. And 3 primary structures were outlined with over 6 kilometers of mineralized structure. We're anticipating Allied's going to be drilling this project in probably mid to late Q2 of this year. Really keen to see what comes out of it, but it's clearly a very structurally controlled sedimentary copper opportunity. Northern Treasure. These are the last 2 projects in the Northwest portfolio. We anticipate that when we bring a partner in, they will be moved on as one consolidated project, but we have them broken up into Northern Treasure East and Northern Treasure West right now. We sit right on trend with some exciting drill results from Brixton Metals in northwestern British Columbia. There, they sit down to our adjacent to us into the southeast, and some of their highlights included 821 meters of 0.4% copper equivalent and 11.5 meters of 19.26 grams per ton gold in the region. And we're happy to say that with this staking, we staked it before these news releases came out, and we've had a lot of inbound interest in the projects. And we've decided to hold off selling the projects for the time being until we get an airborne survey done this coming year, or this coming exploration season, and from there we'll start to make some decisions about bringing a partner in. It's a large claim group, though, just under 30,000 hectares. And then we just touched on Caribou when we were talking about the what we did with Norseman to build that portfolio for them. It's just outside of Smithers in northern British Columbia, roads to within approximately 2 kilometers of the project. The main zone, the NH zone, is a 1,500 by 500 meter soil anomaly, copper, silver, antimony, and we're anticipating them doing a drill program on it this year with the intention to cross-cut structures that we've outlined. So our targets for acquisition, what are we going after? What's in the pipeline for the next 12 months here? Still focused on tier 1 jurisdictions, North America primarily, with the torque coming out of West Africa in the coming months. Grassroots to advanced exploration. Our acquisitions are very data driven and research driven, and we don't really pick a project up unless we can get a good suite of information together. And a significant focus on US copper via the Strategic Alliance. Right now, we're targeting metals across the sector, but very specifically metals that are used to support the energy revolution, if you will. Things like copper, nickel, silver, lithium, and we think that there's a really good opportunity here. There's clearly not enough produced globally right now to meet demand and future demand. But additionally, we look at energy and fuels to support a clean energy transition, specifically royalty opportunities within the within the energy sector. So in natural gas, is we think is a really good transitionary fuel in order to create a base load energy production that we need globally, and moving away from those more heavy hydrocarbon focused energy sources such as oil, such as coal, these types of things. We're currently targeting U.S. lithium brines, Eastern United States. We've had a project generation endeavor underway for over 18 months now. We're currently in the acquisition phase on a number of projects. We've completed the geology and engineering due diligence, and we think that there's a very serious opportunity for us to have the first half of our year here very heavily focused in that region. West African gold and copper, specifically Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, are two very interesting areas for us. We've got local partners on the ground. We're actively reviewing a number of targets within the area, and have ongoing project generation there. And we've taken a view on royalties, build cash flow within the company. That's a key portion for us. Outside of the project generation side and cash flow through project generation and selling down equity positions, we want that stable, long-term, ongoing cash flow through royalties, whether those are energy royalties or mining royalties. We think that that's a clear path for us to deploy our geological and engineering expertise, but also to maintain the balance sheet of the company and limit further future financings. So, as a summary, Cloudbreak is a project and royalty generator for the natural resource sectors. We acquire projects on a value accretive basis, but also to diversify commodity and jurisdictional risk. The management team, we've been doing this for over 10 years. It's been a core business model of mine. And when we bring a partner in return for putting a project together, we get equity, royalties, and cash and milestone-based payments. And with Cloudbreak, you get exposure to a wide variety of commodities, projects, and so you're not a single project-focused company, if you will. Over 5 million of listed securities currently on our balance sheet, copper-focused strategic alliance, 17 projects in North America currently, a bought deal facility for 10 million with a private equity group sitting next to us, 12 royalties within the mining sector, and over 5 million of exploration exposure for the over the coming 12 months. So that's Cloudbreak in a nutshell. And finally, our cap structure, 448 million shares issued and outstanding as of late January. Myself, I'm the largest shareholder. Campbell Smythe and Sean Gibson, two high net worth individuals that have backed me throughout the years, are also large shareholders in the entity. And management's approximately 23% and growing. They're actively in the market. And institutional and high net worth ownership is approximately 28%, and retail in the 49% range. So thank you very much for everybody's time. I'd be happy to answer a few questions now.
Thanks very much, Kyler. For the attendees, if you want to ask a question, I can see that we've had a couple already. If you want to ask a question, you can do it on the Q&A tab there, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. Kyler, there's one here. So when do you feel the share volatility will subside? It's a difficult one.
That's a difficult one. As much as I'd like to say we're able to control the markets, we don't control the markets. We've been very actively marketing since we IPO'd last June. The liquidity was a serious issue in the stock until the last month or so, when a group of individuals decided they liked the story and came in and started buying in the market, from our understanding. And as far as volatility goes, I hope we're finding a new bottom right now, and consolidation happening with the ongoing marketing that we're doing, telling the story, bringing in new shareholders, and augmenting our own personal positions as well.
That's great, Kyla. Thank you. And there's another question here. Do the group have any current or planned Russian dealings? And if so, what are the plans for these given the current situation? I think
we do not have we do not have any current Russian dealings, and nor will we. Our key focus is North America and West Africa. We work with primarily in West Africa directly with locals, and we've taken a view that I don't think working within Central Asia, Russia is good for Cloudbreak. We clearly don't have the expertise for it. It's not a core. It hasn't been a core market for us, and I think that we are too small to have any ability to get into that market, even if we wanted to. But I think between Africa and between North America, we've got our hands full.
Thank you. So royalties are not that familiar to the UK sort of market, Kyla. Perhaps you could just elaborate a little bit on what a royalty is and why you think it would be so beneficial to Cloudbreak's ability to fund their project generation activities.
Absolutely. So a royalty is it's an interest in land, or it's a contractual right on the minerals. And so royalties, once a project's in production, if there's a royalty attached to it, you get a certain percentage, which was agreed up front, of the revenue off of that asset. And if that's a mining asset, it's usually structured as a net smelter return. So what you get, the cash you get back from the smelter onto the company's balance sheet, we get a portion of that after fees and expenses are deducted from the smelter. The nice thing with the royalty is we don't have any operational costs with it. There's no additional investments for us. There's no cash calls. It's an annuity for in perpetuity if a project goes into production. If we're talking energy royalties, it's at the wellhead. There's a little bit of transportation costs associated with it, and a severance tax, which is substantially an income tax, and that goes straight onto our balance sheet, and that's every month. Those payments are made through a royalty structure, and those are normally structured as gross overriding royalties or an interest in mineral rights. So it can be, like I said, contractual or an interest in mineral rights.
Great. I think that's all the questions that have been asked to date. If there are no more, and we'll just give people a minute here to ask, and the final questions if they want to. But if there are no more, we can wrap it up here. This webinar will be available online, and we'll send a link to that once it's up. And we hope to do more of these in the future, so attendees can tune in and see Cloudbreak's evolution as Kyla and his team execute on the business model.
Andrew, thank you for putting this on. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Kyla. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.